One common response to the question, how can I tell if a Reddit post is fake or not, would be, oh, that's easy, they're all fake. And while there is some degree of truth to this, people do go on the internet and tell lies all the time. As counterpoint, I present a post I once read on the subreddit, Am I the Asshole? A subreddit where people asked to be judged on if they were in the wrong in a given situation or not.
Now, this Reddit post was written by a guy who was getting super annoyed in Walmart one day because there was this child who would not stop squeaking her toy. So he asked her to be quiet. Then the girl's mom glared at him, and this made him feel bad. So he made the Reddit post. Got like 30 upvotes, 10 replies. Now, you can call me naive, but I think this really happened. I think these are true events in that man's life that he relayed accurately.
So yeah, there are a lot of fake Reddit posts. But there are also a lot of people who sit down and decide to share their real lives with the internet. This video is here to help you make your own judgment call about whether to believe a post or not. Mostly as it applies to the subreddits relationships, relationship advice, and Am I the Asshole? Because those are the ones that I use and noticed patterns in. Now, it's impossible to say with complete certainty one way or the other that a post is definitely real or definitely fake. There just isn't enough information to make that call with a lot of certainty most of the time. So this video is structured as a list of attributes that make a post more or less likely to be fake on a scale from almost definitely real to almost definitely fake. Quick caveat. I'm not encouraging anyone to watch this and then go and accuse every post they see of being fake. One, because as established, you can't know for absolute certain that something is fake, no matter how unbelievable it seems, and you are running the risk of annoying someone who's just being honest and sharing their experience. And two, not everyone wants to play Reddit detective. Most people go on our relationships because they want to talk about relationships, not because they want to hyperanalyze every line in a post like we're going to be doing here. Excessive accusations run the risk of derailing more sub-appropriate conversations that are happening. And final thing before we start, a few things you should do when you're looking at any post you see. 1. Let the thought enter your head that it might be fake. Don't just get swept along and assume that it's true without thinking. 2. Evaluate the evidence that is actually presented. You know, these posts, they make it to the front page all the time that are like, it's like a video of a woman slipping on a banana peel, and then the title is something like, Woman slips on banana peel after being caught cheating. And you need to keep in mind that you only have evidence of the banana peel portion of this. It's super easy to lie about context of pictures or videos. Text messages are super easy to fake in any number of ways. They aren't strong evidence at all. Someone links a source. Look at it. See if it seems legit. See if they misrepresented something about it when they made the Reddit post, and so on and so on. 3. This one mostly applies to posts that are like stories of some sort. Imagine if the situation described in the post had happened to you, and think about how you would choose to describe it if you were making your own post on that subreddit, and see if anything seems weird comparing the two. Alright, list time.
Things that make a Reddit post seem fake. If the account has posts that contradict each other. For example, if in a post made today they claim to be a 35-year-old man, but in a post made last week they claim to be a 16-year-old girl, good chance it's fake.
If some aspect of the story is factually impossible. This happens a lot when people make up stories beyond their personal experiences. So like teens writing posts pretending to be adults, or people pretending to be members of a different culture they don't really understand very well. Or when people tell stories involving the legal system despite not understanding it very well, this kind of thing is usually called out in the comments. There are 2 posts, allegedly unrelated, describing the same situation from different perspectives. So like if a couple gets into a fight and then both parties make Reddit advice posts about it. This kind of thing is just so unlikely to happen ever, especially if it gets more dramatic once people notice instead of both people just deleting the posts. If the post is running commentary on a developing situation, so if a post were to go like, help, how do I handle this awkward situation that's happening currently right now? I ran away to the bathroom to make a Reddit post. Why would you go to Reddit in that situation? Seems an inefficient use of time. This one specifically applies to rage bait posts, that is, posts that are designed to make people angry, replying to nearly every comment something inflammatory. Like, there's no comment that's just, thank you for your input, they're not neutrally answering questions anywhere. They're not even trying to argue their perspective, really. They're just saying things like, what if I don't love my son as much as I love my car? It's transparently fake. There are contradictions in the story as described. Obvious why that's suspicious, though I will say, sometimes people just make mistakes in telling their true story. It happens. Not the most damning thing, depending on scale, of course.
Being highly upvoted in general. So, posts get highly upvoted if they resonate with people in some way. And a post will resonate with people if it's written well. The thing is, the average person is not a particularly good writer. Like, even if something super interesting happens to them, they probably aren't going to be able to express it in a way that speaks to people. And even if they do happen to have that talent, if someone is making a post because they want advice on a situation, they're probably not even trying to make it good. Whereas someone making up a fake story, their only goal is to write something good. Ergo, the more upvotes something has, the more suspicious it is. If a post is so good it goes viral on another website, I put that in almost definitely fake. If you recognize a post as being the plot of a movie, book, play, etc. If the voice a post is written in does not match the narrator of the story. So if a post is allegedly written by a 60-year-old investment banker, but they're constantly using Zoomer gamer lingo, it's suspicious, is all I'm saying.
Describing a situation as a play-by-play instead of just giving a summary. So where a real post might go something like, I talked to my mom again and she understands where I'm coming from now. A fake post might go something like, I was still in a funk about it the next day at work. Then I took the bus home. Then I had lasagna for dinner. Then I took a bubble bath. Then I got a phone call. It was my mom. Then she said X, and then I said Y, and then she said Z, and then I said A, and so on and so on. People do this because it makes for a better story. It's easier to latch on to, you get more invested if you have those kind of details to it. But it's a little weird for people to editorialize their own life like that. Again, especially if you're just looking for advice. Though of course some people are just in permanent autobiography mode. Fitting into an existing narrative too neatly. So for example, a post that goes something like, my blue-haired gender studies major feminist niece called my wife a pathetic broodmare over dinner. Then I owned her so hard she cried. Was I the asshole for that? And while it's not strictly impossible that something like this could have happened, feels a bit like someone had ulterior motives when they wrote it. This kind of post is especially unbelievable if there isn't a lot of distinct detail provided. All the people mentioned feel more like caricatures than real people. Sick burns. No one lands sick burns in real life. If you are witty enough to come up with a clever insult on the fly, you probably don't feel the need to humble brag about it on Reddit. Conversely, there is absolutely no reason, zero, none whatsoever, to repeat a sick burn someone else landed on you in your own retelling of events.
If there's some kind of wacky scheme involved, if your post contains the phrase, then it was go time, I just don't believe you. Sorry.
Multiple updates in quick succession, as in over the course of a few days or less. Most situations take longer than that to develop, and most people will take some time to process whatever happened before they write a Reddit update. This is another one for ragebait posts, giving way more attention and detail to the way that other people in the story are thinking and feeling than to what the narrator is thinking and feeling. Just for most posts in general, even if you're trying to be objective about the situation, they should start something like, this is how I was feeling, this is what I was thinking, here's why I did what I did. They should have their own perspective in it. Whereas these bait posts, they always just say, I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong. Without elaborating on their perspective at all. It's pretty easy tell, honestly. Another thing on this note, they'll have the narrator remember details that doesn't make sense for them to remember. So that'd be a post that goes something like, I hate my boyfriend's embarrassing and childish Pokemon card collection, so I threw out all the cards he had at my apartment yesterday. Now he's mad that his 1991 first edition Shadowless holographic Charizard number 4 in PSA Gem mint condition is gone. Am I the asshole? See, it doesn't make sense for a person who has that attitude to remember that kind of minute detail.
If they pretend like they don't hear what people are saying. So it would be normal if you're receiving advice you don't want to hear to argue with everyone to try and get them on your side, or alternatively, to just say to yourself, okay, Reddit doesn't get it, close the computer and not reply at all. What trolls do is that they'll keep replying a lot in the thread without acknowledging what everyone is saying. It's very unnatural if you've ever seen someone do it. Adding in details after the fact that change the entire context of a post. So if the original post was something like, am I the asshole for grounding my son for 3 months after he spilled some milk? Then in an edit or comment say like, oh, he intentionally did it to ruin his sister's art project. Like things too big for someone to have just forgotten about or not realized was important when they were making the original post. Being overly invested in Reddit culture. So for example, if a post went something like, I broke up with my girlfriend because she uses TikTok, and then everyone responds like, you sound stupid and horrible. And then they answer, wow, I thought Reddit hated TikTok. What is this hypocrisy? Trolls care more about Reddit culture than the average person would, because most people trolling on Reddit are heavy Reddit users. Being overly defensive about accusations of falsehood. You know, if you're sharing a story that actually happened and people keep accusing it of being fake, it's annoying, but you probably don't care that much. Because, you know, if you know it's true, who cares what people on Reddit think? Whereas if you made up a fake story, what's the point if no one believes it? Those people are going to put way more energy into fighting it than people who are actually just telling the truth.
And finally, if a post exists as part of a trend within a subreddit. This will happen sometimes, you know. One person makes a post about pregnancy, the next day there are dozens of posts about pregnancy. Trend happens both because trolls get inspired to write fake stories and real people get reminded of things that actually happen to them. Though I do think it is more often the former. Things that make a Reddit post seem real. If the subject matter is pretty mundane, to go back to our original Walmart example. No, if you're gonna make up a fake story, you're probably gonna be aiming higher than that.
If a post is super short, like just a few sentences. If the original poster stops engaging with the thread pretty early. So if the post went something like, help, I don't understand why my girlfriend's so upset right now. And then the second comment is something along the lines of, well, maybe she's feeling XYZ. And then they respond, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one, thank you. And just stop replying in the thread, because problem solved. A troll is going to want to play around more than that. If the post is super general and doesn't really even have a story. Suppose there's just something like, how do you get over a breakup? If the OP is defensive in comments, it's a very normal reaction to being criticized. It's weirder if they're completely calm, actually.
Making excuses not to take the advice people are giving. Again, that's just an annoying thing people do sometimes. Getting into pedantic arguments in the comments. Now I know that trolls also do this. However, while a troll is having fun saying the dumbest thing that pops into their head, a real person in a pedantic argument is genuinely angry and frustrated that people aren't listening to them. You can tell the difference if you're looking for it. If the poster doesn't understand Reddit very well, as established, Reddit trolls are very familiar with Reddit. Some of the people making posts on Reddit are either casual users or not familiar with Reddit at all, so they get confused about things. Some of those things are technical, like not knowing how to reply to comments, so you just make new comments, not knowing to break up a wall of text into paragraphs, things like that. And also not understanding Reddit culture. You'll see people sometimes who get shocked and offended when people make sweeping generalizations about their whole life and character on the basis of one situation described in a few paragraphs, which, if you're familiar with Reddit, you would at least see it coming. Sometimes they also step on a landmine on accident, like they mention offhandedly they got their son circumcised or something, and then everyone just yells at them about that in the comments, and they're off guard because, they didn't even realize it was controversial in the first place. And everyone's focusing on this tiny little detail instead of the thing they actually wanted advice about.
Hyper-focusing on a small number of negative comments. Sometimes you'll see these posts that have like 5 edits directed at people criticizing the OP, then you'll scroll down and realize that 95% of the thread actually agreed with them. Again, pretty normally get defensive like that if you're actually putting yourself out there, whereas a troll might be able to get some distance from the situation and appreciate that most people are reacting the way they want them to. Giving an update more than 3 months later. The average troll lacks the dedication.
Having small details that don't impact the story, as it were. Most troll posts are pretty utilitarian, like every line is serving a purpose, being that explaining the situation, trying to get you to hate someone, trying to get you to like someone, etc. Whereas with completely irrelevant details in real posts, it feels like you're getting a glimpse into a person's real, complicated, messy life.
If a post has some kind of distinct writing quirk, like using a lot of ellipses or having smiley faces and ha-has throughout. Most people writing fake posts tend to focus on the plot of those posts more so than the writing style. They usually write it in a pretty neutral way. And finally, if you can't even understand what is happening in the story from the post. Sometimes real people are either just that bad at writing, or they're in the middle of a pretty complicated situation and they can't get the distance you need to explain the whole thing well. Trolls usually meet that level of quality, at least, because, pretty easy to keep track of a story you made up yourself.
Conclusion. So we're now left with the question. Why does it even matter if a Reddit post is fake or not? Because if you're just using Reddit for entertainment, as most people are, and if fake posts are, as a rule, more interesting and better written than real posts, what's even the problem if it's fake? My answer to that would be that personally, as someone interested in psychology and human behavior, I would rather read about people's real feelings and thoughts and problems and relationships, even if they're not as juicy, and a fake post can just never deliver that. On the other hand, I've read posts that I've been as sure as I could possibly be are just rage bait, and still absolutely loved watching this fake person get ripped to shreds in the comment section. So I'm not saying that all fake posts are bad. Fake posts can be extremely creative and captivating and even insightful in the same way that any piece of fiction can be. The thing that bothers me is when people change their perception of reality on the basis of a fake post. You see people say all the time, this sub makes me afraid to get into a relationship. This sub has made me lose faith in humanity. And it frustrates me because most of the posts are fake. There's so many of the posts are fake. It's even worse when fake posts influence specific beliefs. To return to our blue-haired feminist example, underneath a post like that, you see tons of people going, see, I knew it, that this is what feminism does. This is what the SJWs do. This is what political correctness has done. Using a fake post as evidence to justify those beliefs. Fake posts are fiction, and like any form of fiction, they have the power to create or perpetuate stereotypes and to disseminate harmful ideology. All I'm asking is that you please think a little before you internalize a story you read on Reddit.